I'm Tracy Baxter with today's Record Newswatch. The recent arrest of Alexander Adams III in New Windsor on charges of local sex trafficking has helped serve as a wake-up call to local law enforcement agencies and service providers that the problem isn't just women and girls being smuggled across international borders. Those attending a symposium today at Orange Regional Medical Center were reminded that sex trafficking is happening here in the Hudson Valley, and the victims are American-born. More than 100 attendees, from police to medical personnel, were being taught how to recognize the warning signs of human trafficking and how to help victims forced into prostitution.
If we start thinking about trafficking as more than just that international component of people coming here from another country and being forced into prostitution or being picked up at Port Authority, and we start thinking about it more as forced prostitution and thinking about how it's connected to domestic violence and how abusers and traffickers use the very same tactics, we really would come to an understanding that it does happen a lot more here in this community by people who are trafficked by their domestic abusers or by people who are targeting very vulnerable women and then essentially selling them for sex, which is slavery. We have to be the voice for trafficking victims because they are powerless and isolated and coerced and controlled, and that they need people to stand up for them.
Speakers talked about the need to coordinate systems of investigation and care. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, up to 293,000 children and teens are currently victims of sex trafficking. They gathered to make their voices heard. About 150 people turned out for a rally last evening in the City of Newburgh to add their voices to the call for immigration reform, with the goal of recognizing undocumented immigrants as full members of society. The Newburgh rally in March was one of a number of public demonstrations held nationwide as a way to urge Congress to follow through on passage of a major immigration bill that could put people now living in the shadows on the path to citizenship.
We're very concerned that they keep in mind the family unit, that there be a very clear and direct path to citizenship, that people don't have to wait 11, 12, 13 years, that they don't deport the parents of children that were born here in the United States, that everyone have a right to work and that everyone be treated with dignity. We want everyone to have access to basic services to meet their human needs.
The same message was echoed last night in Kingston, where about 75 people gathered at a rally. The anticipated passage of reform legislation in Washington would result in providing about 11 million immigrants living here illegally a way towards American citizenship. The man who was renting a home gutted by fire at Mountain Lodge Park in Blooming Grove back in February, fire that claimed the lives of 8 of the 13 dogs he owned, has now been charged with failing to properly care for the animals. 58-year-old Jeffrey Blumenthal was charged after police and animal control officers concluded that he had failed to properly feed and care for the dogs. 5 were rescued from the fire scene at the Wildwood Trail residence. Police say one of the dogs later died from complications brought on by improper care. The remaining dogs were taken to the Blooming Grove Humane Society. Blumenthal had told police he had taken on too much by owning 13 dogs. A former Ulster County official has been ordered to pay back a total of more than $500,000, money he had stolen from county taxpayers, plus interest. A state Supreme Court justice ruled this week that 59-year-old Rick Fritzler of Rosendale, the former head of the Ulster County Environmental Management Council, committed fraud by concealing his role with the now-defunct nonprofit Lower Esopus River Watch. Justice Raymond Elliott concluded that Fritzler had diverted money, some of which was spent on personal vacations, clothing, and entertainment. The amount to be paid back is $540,000, $385,000 in diverted funds, and $155,000 in accrued interest. And they began lining up before it began. Community members and college students with resumes in hand came to the SUNY Orange Phys Ed building today to continue their search for employment during the college's 29th annual job fair. Among them, Eileen Neely of Monroe, who was anxious to return to the workforce after being unemployed for the past 2.5 years.
I come from a business background. Really, I'm open to any type of position in any company. It's time to go back and get it done.
And while many job applicants were encouraged to apply online, event organizers say job fair face-to-face encounters can be an important part of their employment search.
Allows them to network with employers, and these days their jobs are tight still, and students must learn to network so that they can get a way in, not just by submitting an application or a resume, but by the one-on-one face-to-face connections that they can establish through networking.
Many job seekers say they remain hopeful despite the tough economy. Those who attended hope they enhance their chances today by interacting with more than 60 area employers. Tomorrow looks like a washout, but better weather should be with us this weekend. Friday will be a day of rain, with temperatures not climbing any higher than the low 50s. Then some improvement on Saturday, with the highs in the upper 50s under a partly sunny sky. Keep clicking back here at Record Online for the latest news and weather information, and stay informed by reading the Times-Herald Record. For Record Newswatch, I'm Tracy Baxter.